Welcome to the complete animation of Gloria from Madagascar 2. Well, actually, I guess the official title is Madagascar Escape to Africa. Such a clever name. I really, really hope that people don't get mad when I just call it Madagascar 2. Like that's one of the things that I was really happy about with DreamWorks making Kung Fu Panda 4. They didn't, they didn't break convention. They didn't add a subtitle. All they did is be like, yeah, this is Kung Fu Panda 4. That's the title of the movie. That's it. There's nothing, crazy going on here. Just Kung Fu Panda 4. It's not like How to Train Your Dragon and then How to Train Your Dragon 2 and then How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Literally nobody calls it How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. They call it How to Train Your Dragon 3. And it's not like the Shrek movies where it's like, then there's Shrek, then there's Shrek 2, and then there's Shrek the Third, and then there's Shrek Forever After, but actually who knows what that movie's title actually was because it went through like a bazillion different titles. Like they used to call it Shrek the Final Chapter or Shrek, I don't know. Yeah, so Madagascar 2. This is about as bog standard of a sequel as you could hope for. And it does the thing that I don't really like that much in sequels. I like it when sequels to movies keep friendships intact. I like it when people who were friends at the end of the last movie are friends at the beginning of the second movie, and they're still friends throughout. Like, think of How to Train Your Dragon 2. Every relationship that was forged through the blood, sweat, and tears of the characters in that first movie is alive and well in How to Train Your Dragon 2. Hiccup and Astrid, they're getting closer and closer. Really good friends, basically dating, but they're not ready to, tie the knot just yet. But then, look at all the other, kids from the first movie. Now that they're, young adults in the second, they're all great friends. It's like they all still respect Hiccup. They're still themselves. They don't, obey to his every whim and command. But they're all good friends. And even when the going gets rough, their friendship is never called into question. But Madagascar 2 doesn't do that. Madagascar 2 is basically, you thought these characters were friends, but actually, we need to put their friendship through the ringer. Marty and Alex, they were best friends, best pals. But then Marty just decided, oh, I am going to get so butthurt about Alex not being able to recognize me in a sea of other zebras. And they never really resolved that because, spoilers, the entire way that Alex was able to tell it was Marty the entire time is because he's got a scar on his rear end that doesn't even show up all the time. Like, while I was scrubbing through the footage of this movie, they showed Marty's backside so many times, and guess what? The only times that the scar is visible is when the plot specifically needs it to be. Why couldn't it have just been visible the entire time? And then while, they're crashing to their supposed deaths, and everybody's like, oh no, we're gonna die. What can we ever do? We might as well just start telling everybody our deepest, darkest secrets. And what does Melman say his deepest, darkest secret is? That he's always had feelings for Gloria. What? Like, they barely even like go into that except for the one scene. It's like there's like what, 4 scenes where the fact that Melman has feelings for Gloria even matter. The first scene where he shouts, "I love you, Gloria. I always have." And then the scene where all the friendships fall apart. You know, they're all coming back. It's like, oh, wow, the savannah. We learned so many things. Alex mates his family, but it turns out that the savannah's not all it's cracked up to be. And we got to break up our friendships over it. And during that scene, when Melman's like getting jealous over the fact that Gloria found a hippo that she's got eyes for, Melman gets all uppity about it, but Gloria doesn't know why, and so, you know, that breaks their friendship apart right there. So yeah, that's the second time. And then the third time that plot point even matters is when they have the huge scene where Melman shows, okay, if you really love a woman, here's what you do. You don't just say that she's beautiful. You go beyond that. You talk about the things that she really likes, the things that, you know, somebody who really cares about her would only notice. And then when Melman's like, oh yeah, you need a sacrifice to stop this, I'll do it. And then Gloria saves him because she's like, Melman, I have the feelings for you too. Like, what kind of a... Ugh. I really don't like that. Like, the breaking up of friendships and then the way that they forged them back together. Because, like, what did Alex even do with Marty? He was just like, you know, you are my friend. And even though you sound exactly like all the other zebras, and even though you look almost exactly like, you know, technically, I looked very closely, and some of the other zebras do indeed have different patterns of stripes on them, but not all of them. Many of them do have the exact same stripes as Marty, which means that, you know, like, it literally is a copy paste. Like, that entire storyline would have been so much better if they had actually made the zebras look and sound different. Of course, then they wouldn't have been able to do that, because then Alex wouldn't have been so gullible and taken in. Alex would have been like, oh, your voice isn't the exact same, so you're not Marty, and you don't look exactly the same, but at a distance, it is hard to tell you apart. Like, maybe they could do that. Be like, at a distance, it's hard to tell you apart, but when you're right up next to them, don't make them literally the exact same to make it hard for Alex. And then there's King Julian. Like, again, I just don't see the appeal of King Julian. What is, like, why do they feel the need to bring him along? He is just a very, very foolish person. Like, is it for the kids? I feel like almost any time that you talk about why is this annoying, unlikable character here in an animated kids movie, I can't believe I just said that. Why is this animated movie have this annoying character? And it's like, oh, because it is for kids. Okay? It's like, no. The fact that a movie is made so that children can watch it and enjoy it is no excuse for making bad and annoying characters. It's like, oh, you don't like fart jokes? Well, the kids love the fart jokes. But guess what? Kids love other jokes too. Like, I really hate the argument that just because kids find something funny, it justifies its inclusion. Just because kids find something interesting and they'll watch it justifies its inclusion. Guess what? There's a bunch of other stuff that kids like, and a bunch of other things that the kids will find funny. Use your imagination. Write something better. It's like, people like to say that fart jokes and, toilet humor are, low-hanging fruit. No, it's not even fruit. It's not even low-hanging. It is like the most basic, most absolutely brain-dead story choice you can make. I remember I ran a poll on my YouTube channel. It was like, which do you like more? Genuine wit or fart jokes? And genuine wit did not win by a wide margin. It did win, but it only barely edged out fart jokes. And people in the comments were like, you see, a good fart joke actually works. And I'm like, the sheer number of times that they don't work doesn't justify, the exception that proves the rule. Stop making fart jokes. Stop making toilet jokes. Write better stuff that if you want to appeal to kids, write something that requires a little more imagination. Madagascar 2, I think that the best part of the entire Madagascar 2 story has to be, Alex meeting up with his family again. But the way that they resolve it feels a little bit too much, like the ending of Rumble. You ever see Rumble? It was made by the studio that Paramount owns that also made Wonder Park. Now, Wonder and Rumble Park aren't awful movies, but they do just reek of that, middling budget but still wants to be, appeal to a somewhat mainstream audience sort of 3D animation. And while they're not bad movies, in fact, I enjoy a lot about both. Just like the overall, demeanor of those movies is such that maybe you don't want to be compared to them in terms of story choices. And one of the story choices that Rumble made, and so did Madagascar 2, is that we are going to have the final climactic, action be a dance fight, or a dance performance that doesn't really make sense. And I guess it kind of works when you're watching it in the movie itself, but then when you think about it behind and then you think about it in isolation, you're like, this isn't great. And I guess there's nothing entirely wrong with that. Like, there's a whole ton of aspects of movies that really only land when you watch them in context, when you're watching the movie in its entirety. But at the same time, it would be nice if the concept of all the different parts of a movie were so appealing that you could think about it, and think about it in isolation without even thinking about all the events that led up to it. And it would still sound like a good part of the movie. And maybe that's my issue with Madagascar 2. Because when you actually do just sit down and watch it, and you take the movie on its own terms and get into its rhythm and flow, it does work. But when you try to examine every element of it on its own, a bunch of those elements just don't sound very good. And I think that's also what my issue was with Ice Age 5. Ice Age 5 is another movie where you watch it and you're like, yeah, this works well enough. Not a terrible movie, not a great movie, pretty solid movie. But when you think about it, about the different parts in isolation, you're like, oh, remember the part when this happened? when you think about that movie that way, a bunch of the parts don't really work all that well. And that's how I feel about Madagascar 2. The only way to enjoy Madagascar 2 for me is to watch it beginning to end, and then don't overdo it. Don't like watch it, on repeat. I feel sorry for the kids where it's like, every kid has a phase where they can watch one movie, their favorite movie, on repeat, and they'll never get tired of it until they do, but, it might take weeks. I feel sorry for the kids who Madagascar 2 was that movie for them. Thanks for watching.